there've been a lot of sad
That I'm
stories.
working on.
Okay.
My own sense of
That's
helplessness.
my
And I was like, okay.
Welcome to another installment of Leadership Landscape TV, where we go inside the minds of local community leaders and allow them a chance to offer some keen insights into how they see themselves and explore just what makes them tick. I'm Kurt Jacobs, host of Leadership Landscape TV, where previous interviews have included leaders from the world of business, sports, religion, law, community activism, and civic engagement. However, today it's music. Now, today, our 161st guest is Samuel Tyrone Cotton. He goes by Tyrone. He's a singer, songwriter, and guitarist. Now, for those of you who don't know our guest, allow me to read some of his bio. A Louisville native, as a young boy, his earliest memory of musical revelation was listening to the raspy, inspirational voice of his grandfather, the Reverend Cleveland Roosevelt Williams. He cast a spell over a young and inspiring Tyrone with his rough, beautifully arresting singing, grabbing young Tyrone's full attention. You see, Tyrone's grandfather was a Baptist preacher and sang with a near illegal charm. There was always music around. Cotton's mother loved gospel and R&B, and his first concert experience was with B.B. King, who thrilled and captivated the youngster with playing his tail weaving. Cotton picked the guitar at a young age and strummed to the sounds of popular rock and blues artists. Later, he was influenced by Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead and studied Jimi Hendrix, Buddy Guy, and Mississippi John Hurt with his finger-picking and soft, wispy voice. Into his early 20s, Tyrone began playing clubs and dives, and one of his being Mr. C's in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Today, he plays much more original music, covers many singer-songwriters who influenced him in the early years as well, often playing Bob Dylan or Sam Cooke. He plays a mean "You Send Me." As his style and voice evolved, Tyrone began singing his own songs, to pure blues, tossed with folk, fused with jazz, and stroked with rock. Tyrone's sound is so unique and original, as any you'll hear. Trust me, the hair on the back of your neck stands up when he plays. Cotton has played throughout the United States and in Japan. He has played venues at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and B.B. King's Blues Club in Times Square, New York City. Other notable performances include Mother Lodge Festival opening for the legendary John Winter and headlining at the famous Turning Point outside Manhattan. He has sat in with Lady Rizzo at the Derby and Joe's Pub in New York City and in Louisville, sat in with the legendary composer-singer David Amram, and played on the West Coast in the Southern Discomfort Tour in Florida with poets Ron Whitehead and Frank Messina and Troy Boy. Check out Tyrone's upcoming tours at www.tyronecotton.com. Tyrone, it is a pleasure to have you on Leadership Landscape TV, and that's the first plug I've ever gave for a website besides the show, Leadership Landscape TV. You know, I first met you, so to speak, at an event I went out to with my wife. We'd only been married less than a year, and several of her friends, and it was at Saints in St. Matthews, the Sky Bar. I'd never heard of you before. I think it was a songwriters event.
Right, there were 3 songwriters that night.
What's that?
There were 3 different songwriters that night.
That's right, that's right. And you sang a song called Night Wind, and it just totally captured me. And of all the leaders I've ever interviewed, it really got to me that you can inspire leadership in a way that's not often traditional. And I thought, you know, you need to be on this program at some point. So that was the genesis of why you came here today. And I wanted to welcome you as well. So what drives you to do what you've done? I know your inspiration was your grandfather, but what was kind of the moment that drove you to become a musician and give your life to it, if you will?
Well, just the love of music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just the love of it, the desire to create, you know, just really wanting to create something special, like experiencing a piece of music, then you become awestruck or something, right. Then you ask yourself, well, could I do that? You know, could I reach that level of proficiency, and and what path to do? You know, I mean, the focus, you have to work, and you know what will be the results, basically. Right. You know, just wanted to create.
Whom do you credit most influential in your life, Tyrone? It can be personal or professional.
Many.
Okay.
Of course, my parents.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
and definitely my grandparents.
Yeah.
Had a very special relationship with my grandfather. He lived to be like 12 days from 100.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think 4 years ago he passed. Pretty close to this time of years, but we were
almost 100.
We were tight. Many friends, you know, people, teachers, people that, you know, many people along the way kind of, you know, they kind of help you broaden your horizons.
Absolutely.
They introduce you to something that makes you say, oh, that's, I didn't know that existed, you know.
What was the biggest professional triumph in your musical career? And it could be personal as well.
I think just think, come, realizing that I could write songs, I became a better songwriter. You know, that was, and just the different ways of going about that. Sometimes it didn't always, well, it didn't always come easy, you know, writing, and but I think I've become a better songwriter, and and I hope to continue.
Sure. What was the most defining moment in your life, Tyrone? Again, it could be more than one, personal, professional. I guess maybe the moment that sparked, I'm going to do this, you know, come heck or high water.
I think, you know, I think like music sometimes has an energy to it.
Yes, it does.
And I don't know, I remember like playing sometimes and feeling like feeling something and just feeling some kind of, something kind of flowing out. And
like spiritual maybe, or?
well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I was crazy. And,
that's another show.
But just, I don't know, just, I think we all have gifts.
Sure.
And just, we all have gifts, and just wanting to develop something and to share it, you know.
That's great. What was the best piece of advice ever given to you, Tyrone? Again, it could be more than one.
I think, you know, my grandfather would tell me that he would say, work hard, and when you get tired, work harder.
Oh, wow, interesting.
And that I didn't always follow that, but that sticks with me. And
like that.
yeah, that always into never give up, you know, and sometimes dreams come true. So
Yeah. Now, this show's called Leadership Landscape TV, so we asked the obvious question, but I'm going to kind of mix it twofold. Can you describe leadership in one word in the great English lexicon? Do you have one that comes to mind?
That's maybe to inspire.
Okay. And I was going to flip that on its ear a little bit, the question, can you define music in one word, that you're a musician in the great English lexicon? Would it be the same or would it be different?
Music in one word? I would say communication.
Okay. I like that. Inspire and communication. Now, this next question is a fairly new question we've added into the repertoire of questions.
Okay.
If someone asked you what is the most, or the single most positive thing you've ever done in your life for humanity, your family, friends, colleagues, other musicians, aspiring musicians, what would that be?
I don't know. I would just say the bond, the love between, you know, my family, my friends.
Sure.
Would be that special thing.
Well, your music is very impactful, and
Oh,
we're going to hear some of it later. So, if you could change one thing in your life or in general, what might that be? If you had a magic wand and you were king of the world, as I say, what would that be?
I don't know. So maybe I don't know. I guess life can be full of regrets.
Okay.
And I don't know. You can learn from those mistakes and
Okay.
try not to do it again. It's too late once.
I got you.
You know.
Well, that's a question that, you know, I don't always ask.
Right.
I used to ask it in every interview. But now, you had mentioned on leadership, you had mentioned about communication and inspiring in terms of music and leadership. So this next question is what I call the mouthfeel question. Could you describe in detail a particular scenario or incident where you utilized your own philosophy on leadership, or in this case, music?
Yeah. When I like collaborate with other musicians, I try to find the best people that I possibly can.
Okay.
And which, to me, elevates everything.
Sure.
And
high tide raises all the boats.
And you
all
know,
that.
and as long as everyone's respectful of one another and comfortable, when people are comfortable, you know, they seem to be more sharing and putting out something really nice. And I've learned so much from just playing with other musicians. Just
Sure.
And I think just also to let things flow sometimes. Many surprises have happened to see where things can go, where you had no idea that it could.
Right.
That it was going to be that.
I got you. Now, I've got this quote that I use for my show, and that'll kind of lead into my next question. It's, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. That's John Quincy Adams, one of our first presidents of the United States. And that's the kind of leader I think you are. You're not a leader in the traditional sense. And I talked earlier about how you moved me when we were out that evening with my family, with my friends. So that leads into the next question. If someone asked you, what does Samuel Tyrone Cotton stand for, what would you tell them? Not what they think about you, which I always say may not be suitable for TV, but what would you tell them about yourself?
I'd say I have a sense of adventure.
Okay. I could think so.
I don't know, respectful of others, passionate. Well, you know, I think I'm passionate about the music, and
I got you. Passionate. Okay. Do you think there's a difference in today's musicians than in past generations in terms of career challenges, in terms of creativity, which is obviously a subjective thing?
I think the business has changed a lot, you know, especially with technology. I think that a lot of the major labels have had their problems, and I think there's been like the rise of management groups, and so I think the fallout's not clear yet. I think it's still working itself out.
It's a transformative process. Yeah.
But I still think the old, some things still apply yesterday or today, and it's, you know, vision and, you know, execution and results.
That's great. Now, this is a copy of your album, self-titled, Tyrone Cotton. Can you tell the story a little bit about, you know, there are not many people walking the planet that wrote their own album, let alone, you know, published their own album, did their own music. Musicians, yeah, but I'm talking about the vast majority of people. Could you talk to that a little bit about what your experience was?
Well,
you know, kind of from the A to Z.
I began to collaborate with a musician named Danny Colley. He's a bassist, a producer, and this came out on his label, In Room One.
Okay.
And it's just it was kind of funny because the songs were pretty, in the beginning, with all the instrumentation on some of these songs, they were just much more. Just the guitar, basically, in the beginning, and you know, they kind of got fleshed out, and just that whole process of drums and what worked and what didn't work, and it was definitely a learning curve there. And,
so these are all original songs written by you, or is it a collaboration in terms of the writing as well?
I think I have I think there's 8 original songs.
Okay.
Completely written by me, and then I have 2 poems that I set to music.
That's great. Yeah.
And there's did a couple covers around here also.
You're a big lover. I left it out of the bio of Langston Hughes. Why is that?
I don't. You know, it's almost like some kind of. I picked up the first time I was ever introduced to Hughes. I was in the library, and I just picked up a book.
Yeah.
And I was in the poetry section, and it happened to be Hughes, and I read a poem, and it just kind of. It stuck with me. I can still remember it to this day, and that was probably 30-something years ago.
Yeah.
And but I just later really got into him, and I don't know. There's something very familiar to me with Hughes, with the whole American experience, and there's just something. And there's something very musical about Hughes.
Really?
I mean, the way his poems kind of have in the sort of the meter. The rhyme of like blues and jazz, and so it's just.
I just wanted to ask that question or bring it up about Langston Hughes and how he was an inspiration for you. Now you've got some pictures that you sent to me, and what I do with our guests is I basically have you hold them up.
Okay.
So I'll hand them over to you, and you just kind of hold them up towards the screen, and then we'll overlay it later, and you can describe what's going on in the picture if you don't mind.
Okay. This was on my very first trip to Japan.
Okay.
And it's a pretty amazing experience. And I happened to,
imagine.
This was a concert that I did in a temple called Teinakuji in a very rural part of Japan called Nara, in a village called Ouda.
I couldn't say that sober or drunk, but.
And let's see. Keep flipping?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is you hand them to me when you're done.
And this was when I played B.B. King's in Times Square.
I love it. How many people get to do that?
Great club.
Yeah.
Really nice. And
pretty good crowd, I bet.
It was a nice evening. We had there were 2 other acts. And,
yeah.
It was really nice to be there.
I'll take that for you. Okay.
And this was, this is one of my favorite performers, Lady Rizzo.
Yeah, I listened to her online. Unbelievable. You two together is something.
She's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I hope she goes many great places. And,
That's great.
But anyway, I sat in with her band at the Derby one night.
Yeah.
And, up in New York. And,
yeah, go ahead.
and this is a memorial ceremony for September 11th. This was in 2011.
10-year.
Yeah, a friend of mine, he participates every year, and he invited me to come up, and it was very moving.
I can imagine.
Very moving, and so, and just some photos from the time that I did the record.
Okay.
And another one from the time that I did the record.
Yeah, I love that one. That was a great one.
I love that. I haven't played guitar. I haven't played it in a while. Anyway, and this is my grandparents.
That's him. Is that Cleveland?
That's him.
I love it. I love it.
This might have been the last birthday party that we actually
did,
or one of the last ones.
Now, how long did he almost live to be?
He was 12 days from being 100.
And that's something.
He was amazing. He was like the funniest man I ever met in my life.
Yeah.
He had a sense of humor.
And he had that voice that inspired you, right?
Unbelievable sense of humor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love it. This is a fairly new question we ask our guests as well. If you could have dinner with anyone, living or dead,
Okay.
alone, just the two of you, who would it be and why?
Well, there'd be many, but one I would want to have dinner with. I would say the jazz musician Miles Davis.
Ah, that's a good one. Well, you can name some others.
And
go ahead.
Oh, I would. Dylan would be another one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. I don't know if
And
you could
Hughes.
tape that one. Yeah,
And Hughes. Yeah.
Now, would you want them all together, or would you want them separate? One-on-one?
I'd go one-on-one.
Would you?
Yeah, one-on-one.
So let me ask you this question. I'm going to kind of take it towards external, a little bit away from Tyrone. A young Tyrone Cotton is watching this somewhere, and they want to become a musician, a career musician, songwriter, whatever. What advice would you offer that individual, male, female, may be able to sing like yourself or not? Just they're going to go into that world, if you will. What would you say?
I'd say be authentic.
Okay.
Be bold.
Mm-hmm.
And keep your eye out for open doors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 'Cause I would suspect there's a lot of interesting characters in that world that can and can't play music, right?
Well, yeah.
Now, in terms of the industry, you kind of touched upon it earlier. Do you think it's harder to make a name for yourself now than it was in previous generations? Do you think it's easier in some ways or not? Kind of give me your pulse, if you will, I guess, on the music industry in the 21st century going forward. And it is changing so quickly, it's almost not a fair question in my opinion.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a friend about this very thing, and I don't know, I kind of almost, he was saying that, in this current atmosphere that, there could be no Dylans or Johnny Cash or, there could be people that rise to levels that are pretty amazing, but he didn't know that larger-than-life thing could.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if that's fair or not. I don't know.
Well, there's a few.
There's
like Lady Gaga kind of became this icon, if you will, or epic type of experience.
There's so much out there.
Yeah.
It's almost like sensory overload.
It is
so much. I don't know. How do you cut? How do you?
Yeah. Everybody's a lot of eyeballs. Mind share, I think, is what they call it. In terms of technology, and I would think the ease of access, iTunes, these kind of things.
Yeah.
Napster kind of put a bad taste in everyone's mouth years ago.
Yeah.
Especially for musicians, which is understandable. Does that aspect of it make it easier or harder? Now I'm talking about a young aspiring musician. I would think, as a layman to music like myself, getting it out there, the creativity part of it is a lot more accessible, but then getting rewarded for it is more challenging. Is that fair or no?
I think there's more channels to get it out there with the internet. If one knows how to play the game, they can really. I think they can get it. I think I guess some of it's luck too, and perseverance, and I think there's, like I said, more. There's plenty of channels on the. You don't have to go through a large label. But if you can put together something that's a nice product, and cross your fingers and work really hard, maybe.
Do you find you work better alone or in a group?
I enjoy both.
Okay.
Certain things I love to just do solo,
Mm-hmm.
like certain venues, but I'd love to play with other musicians.
Because, I mean, you are a really powerful solo artist, in my opinion. That's why I want to have you on the program. I mean, not many people, at least for me personally, can move you that way, just like, you know, whatever you're doing, and then it has such an innocence and power to it all in the same sense, experiencing your music.
Innocence and power,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, all in the same.
I haven't heard innocence in me put
Yeah,
those two words.
yeah. I don't know how else you could do it, but or a purity maybe in power. Maybe that's a better way to couch it. If you could have written a letter to the younger Samuel Tyrone Cotton, what would you have told him?
What would I tell him? I would say,
Knowing what you know now and experienced your own album release and
just stay focused.
okay,
Believe, confidence.
confidence. Where do you see yourself at the end of your career? You think you'll just do this till, to be blunt, you can't do it anymore and fall over, or what are your thoughts?
I'm always going to want to play.
I'm sure. That's the beauty of it, isn't it?
It brings something
Mm-hmm.
that I can't imagine not wanting to pick up a guitar. And
Now, your grandfather didn't play guitar, correct? Or
no,
so he was just a vocalist, or did he play other instruments?
he just had a nice. I loved his voice. He just had it wasn't a trained voice or anything.
Right.
It was just he just had a way. He could emote really.
Okay. Why the guitar? I'm asking you now. Why, of all the musical instruments you could have chosen, why the guitar?
Probably in the beginning, because I remember, like, in the neighborhood, there were guys that had guitars, and I remember the first one that my parents bought, and just different people played, and I love the instrument.
Yeah.
It was I love the tone of it. I love other instruments too. I mean, I love the trumpet. I love the piano.
Now, the instrument you have that you're going to play some stuff here later for us, play us out as I call it, tell a little bit of the story of that guitar, because we won't be able to do that once you pick it up.
Well, it does have a story.
Okay, go ahead.
I wasn't planning on getting a guitar at all. I had another guitar, that is. And I had some friends that handed me an envelope full of money as a gift, and they said,
oh, wow.
you should buy something. You should buy something for your music, and it was quite generous. And so at the time I had no idea what I was going to do with it. To make a long story short, another friend approached me, and he said, I have a friend up in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, Matt Gage. He makes an amazing guitar, and I may be able to get you one of these.
I got you.
And so anyway, I got in contact with Matt, and he agreed to make a guitar for me.
That's great. Now, what's it made out of?
It's
a
made
certain
out of
type of wood?
The top is.
We can go ahead and pick it up.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to talk about, or let you play us out.
The sides are a Central American wood called bacote.
Okay.
It's called bacote.
Okay.
And the in the top, Adirondack spruce.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. I just need a cocktail, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Should I play something?
No, not yet. We're
Not
getting
yet?
there. So, this is a question that I ask all of our guests, Tyrone, and then I'm going to let you take it over and maybe explain why you chose this song to play out. If it all ended today, Tyrone, how do you want to be remembered? God forbid, there's no more songs to be written, to create. How do you want to be remembered? The music will be around long after you, so.
We all have to take that last ride, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Well, just one that loved his family and friends and was happy to be part of a community and fun-loving. I like a good laugh like anyone else.
I got you. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll shake your hand before it gets tied up. I really am humbled that you came on this program.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you. You're a very different type of leader, and you do move people, and I thought it was a very interesting choice to put you on the show. So.
An honor to be here.
Well, thank you.
All right.
All right, so tell us what you're going to play, Tyrone, and why.
The song is called Dreams. You know, it's about how dreams come true sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
I'd say for you, a lot of them have.
Sometimes dreams come true. Oh, I know, 'cause I have you. You're my morning flower, my blue sky too. Golden starlight, I love you. Heaven's hand scatters seed. Today's promise for tomorrow's need. To watch you laugh and watch you play. The love you give steals my heart away. How many times I think of you and always wish you well, like counting dreams in the night. Too many to tell. I'll rock you easy and hold you tight. Slow and easy, everything is all right. Close your eyes and close them tight, and the dream man